All right, and welcome to another Walk and Talk Wednesday political edition. We're going to be jumping in and talking about the news for the week, which there's a couple topics, but the big one, of course, is Jeffrey Epstein, baby. Oh my God. So I will fully admit, I was wrong. I thought this had legs for about a week and then it would be over. That is not the case. It still seems like the MAGA base and everybody else in the world is pretty upset about this. They're not happy with the idea that there's really only two outcomes to this. Either Trump himself is a diddler or Trump is protecting diddlers. And he ran on, revealing this transparency. He ran on telling everybody and exposing everybody, or telling everybody who was on the list and exposing everybody who was on the list. Up until, a month ago, that was still the narrative that they were running with. His own head of the FBI was saying that, his entire cabinet was regurgitating this, that they had the list, they knew the names, confirming that there were people on the list, not the current narrative of, it's only Jeffrey Epstein. He's the only one. Thousands of videos, and he's the only person that we know was doing this to children on that island. It's like, that narrative doesn't work. It's a bad cover. Think about it. Then why were all these powerful, important people going to an island where this guy was? That doesn't hold up. That doesn't make sense. What, they were just his good friend? Like Prince Andrew, Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, and more. And Trump by proxy as well, not on the island but on the plane. Allegedly that they all were partaking in this debauchery, this horrible things that were happening to minors. It just doesn't make any sense. How can they just say, well, he acted alone? Why would he have influence with all these other people? It's like, come on. We know why. And, even Trump's hardcore MAGA base knows why. And the narrative now, out in the open, is just that. They're saying that he acted alone, that the list does exist, but they're saying, after Trump did this on Truth Social, they're saying that the Democrats made the list up to hurt him. Bill Clinton, the Clintons, the Obamas, the Bidens. That this is from Trump's own mouth, on Truth Social, that the Democrats made up the list, that there was no list, there's no real list, and because it makes him look bad, he's not going to release the list. Dog, that is a horrible line of defense. I could have given him 20 different ways to make that look better. That means he's on the list, guys. He just confirmed it himself. How would he look bad unless it was him? And don't forget it either. They're trying to kind of cover this up, but Jeffrey Epstein died under Trump's watch. Trump was the president when he died. And these guys were boys. So, to me, it looked like he couldn't get him out. He couldn't save him to save his own ass. So he offed him. He was just like, okay, do what you gotta do. And then they release this unedited footage of the jail cell, which doesn't even match up with the original images of the jail cell when Epstein died originally. And a bunch of editors have come out and said, yeah, it's clearly been edited, using Adobe. You can tell certain things just aren't right. They don't look right. And it's missing a minute at the very end of it, where it's and then the excuse from Mamdani is, oh, well, that's been that way for years, since the 50s or something, and they just never updated it. I mean, that's possible. Government is very inefficient sometimes, and I could see them doing that. But here's the problem. Even if that is the case, and it wasn't maliciously edited out, that's a minute where somebody could have gotten into that cell and killed his ass and gotten out, and nobody would know. It just, this falls apart. This narrative is terrible. I'm actually kind of shocked how unprepared for this they were. It's similar to, I've talked about this before, but Bill Gates was asked about Jeffrey Epstein in an interview one time. And now he's had years to prepare a statement, because if you didn't know, Bill Gates was one of those people that was a close associate with him even after he found out that Epstein was a pedo, that he had that sweetheart deal that happened that kept Epstein doing what he was doing. Like, Bill Gates knew that, and he's admitted that he knew that, but he wanted to use him for his power and influence. And it's like, Bill Gates stumbled around like he had no idea how to answer this. Wouldn't this be something, if you knew it was going to come up, wouldn't this be something that you fully prepared for? You know, you got people who know how to prepare you for this, and you have an answer, but he just jumbled around. He's like, oh, well, you know, maybe it was a bad mistake. Blah, blah, blah. But Trump's doing that now too. Something is really, really up for sure. I mean, these people are nervous to the point where they don't even trust asking other people, like, how do I answer this? They're just winging it. Because then, man, I bet you in the end, this is even more disgusting, vast, and giant than we think. You know, that conspiracy theory in me coming out. But like, this must have been huge. This must have been so many people in power that were partaking on this island or were under the influence of Epstein, that it's just wild to me that they can't come up with a decent narrative. And MAGA's definitely not happy. Nobody else is either, but it just surprised me that the Trump administration tried to switch the narrative to Texas, which we're going to get to in a second because that failed. And they tried to switch the narrative. Apparently they tried to go back to trans hate. And everybody was like, well, if you want to protect girls, maybe you should hold pedophiles accountable. And so no matter what they try, it's just not working, to the point where Trump is literally tweeting out or Truth Socialing out. And he's just like, stop it. Stop doing this. Listen to me. And they're not. So to their credit, they're not listening. I'm curious what you think about the updated information on the Epstein stuff. Let me know in the comments, and let's move on to the next subject, which is Texas. And in the news as well, and I saw this coming a mile away. I could have told every single one of you that this was going to go down. There's reports going around that under, was it Kirsty Noem, that Texas has been getting screwed by not getting the appropriate help from FEMA, which is federal aid for disasters. Yeah, I mean, no shit. Come on. Trump ran on saying that FEMA needed to go away and states needed to be responsible for their own disaster relief, and that he wanted to do away with FEMA. Why does it surprise anybody then that they were doing that? Like, they were literally crippling FEMA and its ability to help people. So the reports suggest that there are a lot of call centers that are basically the people that take the calls for people that are in need when a disaster strikes. So, the flooding in Texas, which was horrible, horrible, horrible. I feel so bad for those people. Awful. A lot of kids that got drowned and whatnot as well. Just terrible stuff, And people were calling, though, to report, help that they needed. And these call centers are gone. So they just don't exist. So they didn't have enough call centers active to take people's, urgent emergency requiring requests for help. And at least this is where the reports say, is that the Trump administration basically just let their contracts go. Was just nah, we're not going to renew those. Because they switched to a system where instead of automatically renewing it, they decided it had to be individually approved. And it's thousands of call centers, or at least 1,000 call centers, enough to where it made a difference and affected people's lives. Yeah, they got screwed. They got screwed. Kirsty Noem has come out, she's the head of that, and said that's not true. But then they press her and they go, well, can you give us specific dates, when you did renew the contracts? And she's like, no. So it's true. I mean, come on. It just makes sense. Again, this administration ran on the idea that FEMA was bad. The Republicans during the North Carolina debacle, FEMA didn't react all that great to the North Carolina thing. I don't think it's as bad as other people stated. I think that was a mess, but I do think that their intentions were to help. There was a lot of issues with it, though. So to me, I would say, let's strengthen FEMA then. Let's go in, make sure it's going to do its job, make sure it has the resources, make sure it has the manpower. Because, it's kind of important to make sure that people during a natural disaster are taken care of. I'm cool with my tax dollars going there. Of all of my tax dollars, yeah, that sounds great. But instead, after, the Trump administration, before they went into office, before they won, they criticized and said, well, the Biden administration did a terrible job with FEMA before, so we're just going to do away with it. I could have told you that was not going to work out. that was going to be a disaster. So, yeah, I mean, if you believe it, let me know in the comments. If you don't, you think it's fake news, you think Trump loves FEMA, and he had no intention of ever doing away with it, despite the fact that it was a campaign promise, let me know and move on to the next topic. I hit the big incline part right here. This part sucks, so I'm going to be huffing more than the start of the video. But another thing I want to talk about, I kind of mentioned it a little bit when we did last week's, but Democrats, it is pathetic and shameful how they are like blatantly trying to take down Zohran. Is it Zohran Mamdani? Probably saying that wrong, but the guy who won the primary to go for mayor of New York, destroyed Andrew Cuomo. Thank God, fuck Cuomo, let old people die. Horrible person. And it's just fascinating to me that if you look at the data of how Zohran did, it's amazing. Like, it's amazing. He brought out so many young voters, 18 to 24, overwhelmingly went for this guy. They came out for him. He clobbered it, which is a good sign. Like, if you want to, energize the next generation, because boomers aren't going to be around forever, that's good. And he is a democratic socialist, like Bernie Sanders, and they share a lot of similar ideology. But yet the Dems, if you look, they're either full out attacking him, talking about how, he's, anti-Semitic, he needs to be more pro-Israel, more sucking Israel's dick, or they're indifferent. Like, they won't say that they endorse him, but they won't say that they won't. They're just like, oh, I wish him luck. What are you doing? Your base just told you, we don't like your politics. We're going to hand the country over to a psychopath who we know is a psychopath because we want something different. And then Zohran comes along and he does really well, and the Democrats are just like, yeah, we're just going to stick to losing. We like losing. Zohran is interesting because he focuses on working class people problems. He's focusing on making groceries cheaper by opening up some government funded grocery stores. He's focusing on making public transportation free, or at least cheaper. He's trying to focus on things that regular people would enjoy. It's not the the standard status quo Democratic line of, well, isn't Donald Trump really bad? Because that's basically what people like Hakeem Jeffries are doing. Chuck Schumer, the leaders of the Democratic Party, their entire thing is, yeah, but Donald Trump's really bad though, right? And they thought that worked in 2020 with Biden. It didn't. COVID is the only reason why Donald Trump was not the president for a second term in a row. It's the only reason. If it hadn't been for COVID, I am convinced Biden would have been destroyed. He didn't handle COVID well, and it cost Trump the election. But Democrats are convinced, well, we don't have to change. We can keep taking donors' money. We can keep, being more pro-Israel than more pro-United States. And it'll work because Trump's definitely going to shoot himself in the foot. Is there a chance it could happen? Yes. But why wouldn't you look at the success of Zohran in New York and say, well, that will work and we will win that way? Because even if he's wrong or right, it doesn't matter. He's new, he's fresh, he has energy, and he's pitching something that the American people are desperate for. He's pitching helping working class people. So why wouldn't you do that? Well, yeah, again, they don't want to get rid of the donor money. They don't want to give up all of the things that they're used to, all of the privileges that they have. And so, that's pretty much it. Dems are useless, the moderate Dems are useless, and the progressive Dems at least have something they're offering. Again, it doesn't matter if you think they're right or wrong. They actually energize people. They get people to come out for them. And this whole narrative of Donald Trump bad, I just don't think that's a particularly good gamble at this point in time. It might get better, especially with the Epstein stuff, but at the end of the day, he's convinced his base that anything he is, the Democrats are 1,000 times worse. And they truly believe that, which is why I don't think they'll ever actually abandon him. They'll just be upset over the situation. All right, I can't. The last little bit of this is hell. It's such an incline. So the last topic, and what's funny is I was going to say on a lighter note, but it's not a lighter note. Donald Trump's feud with Rosie O'Donnell continues. I guess they've hated each other for years. Who fucking cares, right? I don't care. I don't give a shit about their feud. It's the substance of how he threatened her that I find to be fascinating. That was a burp. He said that they're going to look into taking away her citizenship, that they're going to try and remove her as an American citizen. And again, this is the issue, MAGA. This is the problem with this man, is that he is normalizing chaos. And you know, if Joe Biden had come out or Barack Obama had come out and they had said that someone on the right, like James Woods, okay, James Woods is a hardcore right-winger, if he pissed one of them off and Joe Biden went, you know what, Jack, we're going to look at taking away their citizenship, Jack, MAGA would have melted. They would have lost their minds. They would have said that's unconstitutional, that is what a king does, that is an abuse of the office. And they would be right. This is the issue, is Trump gets away with everything. He can say anything, he can do anything. And the MAGA will say, oh, he's just blowing off some steam. Doesn't matter. No big deal. He's not going to do it. It's like, it doesn't fucking matter if he's going to do it or not. Call me crazy, but the President of the United States should not be threatening to take away the citizenship of a citizen because he doesn't like them. He shouldn't be threatening that, period. There should be no reason whatsoever that the president can ever do that. If he has a problem with them and they broke the law, put him in jail. Make him do time. But the idea that he just doesn't like somebody, so he's going to take away their citizenship, let alone the amount of green card holders that aren't citizens that were here legally, or people that were here protected under a judge order, and they just shipped them out of the country, despite the fact that that's super unconstitutional, incredibly illegal, and they had to bring at least one of them back. That's nuts. Like, this is the administration of chaos. They really are the administration of chaos. And I just can't understand why MAGA doesn't either see it, or they just see it and they love it. Because remember, turn this around the other foot. The moment that you give power to a Democrat, if they did even 10% of what Trump has said, or he would do, you wouldn't be on board. And that's what's going to be fascinating about this. If we end up getting, decent elections that aren't rigged and weird, which we'll see, because it's gonna be a historically strange election coming up for the midterms, and then for the presidency after that. It's gonna be wild to watch all of the people who supported Trump throughout this insanity that he's been doing, the complete lack of norms and just bullshit. Yeah, it's gonna be really, really fun to watch them go, oh my God, how dare the Democratic president say the thing that Trump did too, but I have to pretend now that it's important and it's going to be something that I'm going to care about. See, I would respect them if, when the Dem gets into office, if they go, well, Trump did it, so I don't really care. But they're not going to do that. That they're immediately going to start clutching their pearls again. They're going to start screaming about, what about the children? What about decorum? How dare the president curse? Or how dare he do this? Or how dare he threaten this person? They're going to do it. But don't, because it's over. That era is done. And I got to be honest with you, I don't really care if the president has decorum or if he's, proper. I don't care if he curses. I know I'm not in the majority on that, but I just want him to do things. He could come in and he could just say fuck every other word. And as long as he lives up to his promises and does what he says he's going to do, that's fine with me. Transparency matters more than cursing. The government just gave Elon Musk $200 million to use Grok, AI, and integrate it into the government. I don't know the exact details on that. I gotta be honest with you, I don't care. It's gonna be used for horrible things. So, but my point here is, let's go through the timetable, okay? So, Musk helps Trump win the presidency by giving him tons of money, just tons and tons and tons of money, endorses him. Says that they're both going to get rid of the deep state. They're both going to cut spending. they're going to get us back on being fiscally responsible. And then after about 6 months, I'd say, the big beautiful bill happens, where Trump pushes for this and Congress passes it. It shoots spending up. Like, as always, Republican presidents in particular, always run on the idea that they're going to be fiscally responsible, and the moment they get in, they blow up everything, just like every president does. And this very much upset Elon, because Elon's entire thing was, less government spending. We need to cut, even if it hurt a lot of people. He just wanted cut. But Trump never cared about that. Trump just said that because that's what Republicans say when they're running. And once he got in, he's like, all right, no, I want to do everything I want to do now. I want tax cuts. I want to enrich myself and my friends. The usual stuff. Very status quo. And this caused a huge breakup, okay? So they're feuding with each other. Elon was keeping it kind of simple at first, but then he blew it up by coming out and saying that Donald Trump is on the Epstein list, and that's why he won't release it. I mean, like, a nuclear bomb. Like, that is about as big of a claim that you can make, calling the president of the United States a pedophile who's protecting pedophiles, okay? Then he backtracks after about a week and says he regrets saying that. Well, which part of it was true and what was false? Like, is he a pedophile or were you lying that he was one? Well, Elon didn't touch on that anymore. And it was kind of calm for a little bit. But then Elon couldn't help himself, and which I love, and couldn't stop talking shit about Republicans that voted for the big beautiful bill and Trump in general. And Trump then came out and said, well, I think we're going to have to cut spending by getting rid of the biggest waste, which is funding Elon's companies. Which, yeah, I tend to agree. I don't really think we should be giving these mega corporations the amount of money that they get. They already make a lot of money in their own right, and we don't really benefit from a lot of them. A lot of it's like military, industrial complex stuff. So he's like, well, we're going to look into cutting Elon's businesses, or cutting the funding to their businesses, and maybe we'll see if we can look into getting rid of him from the country. And now look at what happened. I'm telling you, man, Trump is on that list 100%. Trump is on the Epstein list. He just gave $200 million, another grant, to Elon Musk to shut him the fuck up. Like, this is crazy. I can't believe that we have, potentially, more than likely, a president of the United States who is either a pedophile or is protecting pedophiles, and he is just using government money to hush up anybody who might be a critic. And the fact that they'll just be like, okay, I'll shut up. Thank you for the money. I don't really care anymore. I never, ever want to hear any Republicans ever again say that, well, the Democrats are pedophiles. Yeah, well, so are you guys. I mean, worst case scenario, that's the truth right there. On my side, though, where I sit, I have no problem saying that a lot of the Democrats have a lot of shady issues, and I would not support those in particular who have them. Crazy. This is the era of blatant corruption out in the open, and nobody is ever going to be held accountable for it, at least in the immediate time period. Wow. Wow. All right, well, I'm curious what you think about this, piecing it together like I did. Are you fine with this? Are you like, well, hey, at least it's not the liberals? Are you just like, I hate everything now, I don't support any of this? I'm just really curious what you guys are going to say in the comments. There you go. Those are the topics that I have to talk about. Shout out to JD Vance for being a little bitch and bending the knee and absolutely believing in nothing. But either way, I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are. Let me know in the comments down below. We can have a discussion. And any topics you'd like to see me talk about that I may have missed. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Reckless Eating! Reckless Eating!